title of this week's CQM Forecast alert is "The U.S. statistical discrepancy is almost the same as GDP in Asian countries." Personal income and personal consumption expenditure statistics have been significantly revised back to October 2020. BEA calculated the statistical discrepancy in 2020 Q1 to be minus 382.7 billion. With the update of April monthly PCE, real PCE was revised from 3.71% to 5.72% in 2020 Q2. This is the main reason for the upward revision in real GDP on the expenditure side. With the update of April monthly personal income, the compensation of employees was adjusted upward by 211.2 billion in 2021 Q2. This is the main reason for the upward revision of economic growth on the income side. The economic growth rate in 2021 Q2 was revised upward by 1.72% and 2.40% on the expenditure side and income side, respectively. The average economic growth rate on both the expenditure and the income side, which is close to BEA's GDO concept, has been modified upward by 2.06% to 6.29%. This table shows SD has been over 350 billion since 2020 Q2. In addition, there were large differences of economic growth rate between the expenditure and income sides in 2020 Q3 and Q4. It is understandable that BEA introduced GDO as an indicator of a better economic growth. The size of US SD reached the almost same level as the GDP of major Asian countries. Therefore, we cannot ignore SD analysis for judging the economic situation. Conclusion from this week's CQM Forecast alert. First, the scale of the statistical discrepancy in the United States expanded to the same extent as the GDP of major Asian countries. Second, economic growth rates on both the expenditure and the income side are often very different. The third, it is not adequate to rely solely on GDP on the expenditure side for judging the economic situation. Fourth, it is reasonable for BEA to have introduced GDO as a better measure of economic growth. Fifth, the average real GDP on both the expenditure and income sides calculated in CQM is close to the concept of GDO. This slide shows the other contents of this week's US CQM report. This report can be accessed by the address below. This slide contains information about this week's detailed CQM forecast, the original developer of CQM, and CQM theory papers.